Okay, this is Business 436. These are a couple of sample problems for convertible debt and participating preferred stock. So let's go over these real quick. They're fairly simple. Susan starts a company to make three-legged pantyhose. Her friend Mark is an angel investor and wants to help Susan. He invests $180,000, but suggests rather than make it an equity investment right away, he wants to make it convertible debt. He asks for and receives an agreement to convert it to a 10% discount, convert it to equity at a 10% discount over the share price at the time of a share purchase. He also agrees to charge no interest, which, wouldn't be really the case. They just made this problem simpler that way, but we'll go through that anyway. 3 months later, after the first batch of three-legged pantyhose sold out, Big VC is very interested and agrees to a Series A round in which he buys 30% of the company for $3 million, which is a $9 million valuation, but somewhere around that, not $9 million, over $9 million. You don't need to know that for this problem, though. They agreed that to keep it simple, they will keep the share price they will set the share price at $1 a share. That's what you really need to know, because you know that Mark gets a 10% discount on that, and that he's owed $180,000. Okay, so the share price is going to be $1. 10% discount is 10% off of 10 cents off of that. So the share price for Mark is 90 cents. Now he's owed $180,000. And remember, if there was interest, say there was 5,000 in interest, or let's just put 5K in interest. All you do is add the 5K to this and make it 185,000, right? But for this example, we'll just do it like the problem. 180,000 is what he's owed, divided by 90 cents a share means he'll get 200,000 shares. If it was accrued or deferred interest that he had not been paid, key is that he has not been paid. If he'd been paid the interest, you don't add it on. But if there's accrued or deferred interest, you add that to what he's owed, because he's owed both, right? The principal and the interest, divided by the share price, and that would get you how many shares. Don't worry about this valuation stuff unless you need to figure out the share price, because remember, your discount is based on the share price. So only use it to figure out the discount if you need to figure it, and it tells you how many shares. So for instance, if they'd said 30% of the company for $3 million, you take the valuation and it says how many shares that he got, you divide that and get the price per share, right? Then you take the 10% discount. Second part of this, a little bit more work, but really not that hard as long as you just keep your steps and just kind of think of it logically. There's 3 steps of these things where they're double dipping basically, but it's really triple dipping. Okay, venture capital firm XYZ invests $6 million for a 40% stake in company ABC. Okay, so important information, he invested $6 million for 40%, because you'll need those. The final documents call for a one-time liquidation preference and a 2-time participating preferred stock preference. So remember, those are 2 different things. If the company sells for $100 million, how much money does the investor take from the proceeds? It says how much money, but on the problem, it also he solved for what percent of the proceeds he got. Okay, so the first thing is, you know that he gets his $6 million back at a one-time liquidation preference. This is his liquidation preference because in liquidation, it's preferred stock. He gets paid first. He gets paid one time what he has in there, because remember, that's really debt. So he gets his $6 million back, right? That's like if we think of it as a bond, he gets that $6 million back, okay? But with preferred stock, you're also getting an equity stake instead of an interest. Sometimes there is interest involved with it too, but we'll ignore that for right now. Okay? Then remember, they give them a participating preferred stock. It's like a kicker. It adds to, because they're investing so early, it's so risky. You just don't want to get a certain percent and your money back. You want to participate in the growth of the company in equity, or in the growth of the company in this case. So you get a 2-time participating preferred stock preference. So he invested $6 million. He gets 2 times that back, so that's another $12 million. So he got $6 million for the liquidation preference, $12 million for the preferred participation preference. That's $18 million total at that point, right? So how much is left? Well, there was $100 million in the liquidation. $18 million he got already, so you take that out. There's $82 million left. Okay, so he owned 40% stake in the company at this point. So he owns 40%. Remember, this is just getting his money back, which was debt. This is just a kicker that they gave him to invest in the first place. He still owns 40% of the rest of the common equity, the equity, which is common stock basically at this point. So he gets 40% of the $82 million remaining. That's $32,800,000. So he gets a total of $50,800,000 back, which $50,800,000 divided by 100 million. Remember, the total proceeds were 100 million for the sale or liquidation. He got 50.8% of the total proceeds. Okay, so just think about it in logical sense. First comes his liquidation preference. He gets his money back at 1 or 2 times, but usually in these examples he goes 1 time. Then the preferred participating preference, if this is a preferred participating stock. If it's not, then you don't have to worry about it. But most of these examples seem to be preferred participating. So then he gets that. You subtract these 2 numbers from what the total liquidation amount was. That gives you what's balance is left for the equity owners. He owns 40% equity. He gets 40% of that $50,800,000. So he gets, he gets 40% of the 82 million remaining, right? Times 40. And that gets you to the 32,800,000 that he gets, 40% of the equity. So you add those together, he got a total of 50,800,000, which out of that 100 million is 50.8% of the proceeds. Remember, if they ask for the percent of the proceeds. Okay, so that was the 2 sample problems.